It is now my pleasure to present the CVMA's highest honor and most prestigious award. Previously titled the Lifetime Achievement Award, this award has been renamed the Dr. George Bishop Lifetime Achievement Award to honor the irreplaceable CVMA leader, Dr. George Bishop, who passed away earlier this year. There is no better person to receive the first ever Dr. George Bishop Lifetime Achievement Award than Dr. Jon Klingborg. Dr. Klingborg has made an indelible mark on both the CVMA and the veterinary medicine at large. Among his many accomplishments, perhaps Jon's crowning achievement was the development and passage of CVMA's 8 Principles of Animal Welfare, Care, and Use in 2004. At the time, only 20 years ago, the phrase animal welfare caused anxiety within the profession. It was Jon who led the veterinary community to rethink animal welfare and the treatment of our animal patients. The adoption of CVMA's 8 Principles was felt across the nation, with state VMAs and the American Veterinary Medical Association following suit and crafting their own animal welfare principles, positively affecting the lives of countless animals. For his contributions to the CVMA and the veterinary profession, I'm honored to present the Dr. George Bishop Lifetime Achievement Award to Dr. Jon Klingborg.
I like making the president nervous. Good morning. I'm going to try and summarize in just a few minutes about 25 years of service to the CVMA. So buckle up. Let me start by saying how truly honored I am by receiving the Dr. George Bishop Lifetime Achievement Award. I worked with George for decades and over hundreds of hours of meetings, and all of us who worked with George know how much he contributed to the CVMA, the AVMA, and the profession in general. He did what he did because he could and because he knew that it mattered. And he didn't ask for any other accolades than that. Thank you, George. We miss you. Unsurprisingly, my story starts with mom and dad. Mom and dad both taught by example. Dad always told me that you should return things in better condition than you found them, a motto which I hated whenever we would borrow anything from friends, and then we would have to clean it to a shine before we could return the darn thing. But the lesson took hold. Mom lived by the motto, not that one person can make a difference, but that one person will make a difference. She was the teacher of the deaf and hard of hearing, and I think of her as the ultimate influencer for the impact she had on so many lives of so many children, including myself and my brother. So thank you, Mom. I will simultaneously thank and blame them for the tenets by which I live. I must thank my wife, Kim, who's always been supportive to share me with the CVMA. We started dating just as I became an alternate delegate to the House. And that meant that our first decade of our relationship was scheduled around the CVMA calendar. Romantic, right? We all struggle with work-life balance in our own way. I'm glad that Kim saw and still sees the importance in what I did for the CVMA. And I also want to thank my children, Patrick and Aaron, who would understand when I was away doing CVMA duties because I was making the world a better place for furry creatures. And whenever they asked what I was going to go do, and I said that, they knew exactly what I was up to. I'm thankful that they have chosen professions where they can give back to their communities. So doing my part to leave the profession in a better place has been a focal point of most of my career. I spent 3 years on the House of Delegates, 6 years on the Board of Governors, 9 years as CVMA Legislative Chair, and 9 years on a Vet Med Board Committee, the Multidisciplinary Committee. And I'm thankful to have lived in interesting times and have had an opportunity to be a vocal advocate for animals and the profession on issues such as microchipping standards, pet cloning, animal welfare, non-economic damages, the CVMA history book. Yes, there's even controversy about that. And a lot of regulatory stuff that affects us every day, like VCPR, compounding, and animal physical rehabilitation. One thing that I learned over the 3+ decades as a DVM is that becoming a veterinarian is a personal achievement, but the rights and privileges afforded to us as professionals, our standing in our community, and our livelihood are all bestowed upon us by society. If you're in private practice, please never forget that clients are doing you a favor and not the other way around. Yes, we are in high demand right now, but if you were practicing in 2009 during the recession, the phone stopped ringing, the clients stopped showing up, and veterinarians got laid off. The landscape can change. I was in Chile earlier this year, and in Chile, over the course of 1 week, had an opportunity to meet 3 different veterinarians. One was our tour guide. The second worked as a docent in a penguin sanctuary, and the third stamped our passport at the immigration booth, none of whom were working in their chosen profession. The plight of our Chilean colleagues could be a cautionary tale if we don't take care of our profession. And as I wrap up, what are 3 things that I think about, that I worry about at night in regards to the profession and its future? Number 1 is mentoring. What happened? Where are all the mentors? Didn't we get mentored by somebody? Didn't somebody inspire us? But I often have young folks seeking to mentor, and they have called every clinic in town, and they can't find anybody that's willing to take them in. As a CVMA president, I had an initiative where we celebrated National Pet Week, we the veterinarians, we the profession, by going into schools for just 1 hour during that week. And we returned the favor. We brought the profession to 30 or 40 young minds. Let's bring that back. Let's show the next generation how awesome we are and what we do. And you know, a lot of the stuff that we do is really cool, and we forget that because it's routine to us. Bring in a high school or college age student and just have them spend 3 or 4 hours with you every week. It will make a huge difference in their life, and you will find it rewarding as well. The number 2 thing I worry about, scope creep. Scope creep is when another group, laypersons or professionals, want to take part of your profession and keep it for themselves. For example, there's an ongoing assault that you should probably be aware of about from a group of physical therapists who want to establish their own physical therapy practices without a veterinarian being present. Taking the scope of practice from veterinarians has been the primary goal of a self-serving and politically juiced group of physical therapists, which are aided by some veterinarians who want to sell the physical therapy CE courses to you, and they want to remove it from the Veterinary Practice Act and take that for themselves. The harm that this will cause specifically to older dogs without a veterinarian on site is substantial. That just was defeated in the legislature, that bill was pulled, but these folks are going to keep coming back year after year. Right now, it's a violation of their Practice Act to do this, and yet their Practice Act isn't enforcing it. Don't let it become part of our Practice Act to let them do their unlicensed practice. I'm concerned also about the quality of our profession that may be threatened as we see some vet schools are starting to pop up like fast food franchises. And I'm not blaming the students here who want to join our wonderful profession, but I am concerned about whether or not they're getting all the education they should be. As we've eliminated state board exams and other tools to assess competence, we have lost an element of quality control, call it what you will. It is your practice in your community that's potentially going to be affected if the person down the street isn't practicing the quality of medicine that you are. Are these folks getting the education they paid for? And if they're not, then we need to stand up and we need to make sure that they are. You have the opportunity to weigh in and participate on this experiment, so do so. Unlike our colleagues from Chile, our society does value us, but our status is not a gift. Instead, it is a loan, and I strongly believe that being part of a professional is an obligation to pay back this loan, not only through service to the profession, but also by being a voice of science and reason in our local communities. If you need more examples of how you might make a difference, pick up any issue of the California Veterinarian magazine. The legislative, regulatory, and economic challenges to our profession are printed in every magazine. If you, me, we as individuals don't stand up for our profession, it will change as others take from us what they want. There's a lot of work to be done, but I told myself a long time ago that I was going to roll up my sleeves, give it my all, and then get out and make room for somebody else. Guess what? Tag, you're it. Thank you. Thank you to the CVMA.